Hey, it's Chris. Recently, Apple had to replace my 16-inch MacBook Pro and one of my AirPod Pros, and that just kind of got me thinking, are Apple products getting better or are they getting worse? And I asked you guys that question, and in this video, I'm gonna react to your responses, which, wow, by the way, gave me a lot to think about. I wanna kick this video off with a comment that really caught my eye because I think it summarizes how a lot of people are probably feeling, and it's just this: hardware better, software worse. Wow, that's a very interesting statement there. I completely get what's being said. On the one hand, we have all these Apple events with new products and features being announced, and to a lot of people, new just equals better. Let's say new products and features, because new bugs, those aren't better or appreciated. And it seems like lately, we have been getting several new bugs. I love Final Cut Pro, but lately, when I'm editing a video, it crashes like 2 to 5 times per video edit in Catalina. But still, the love outweighs the hate. I think that's for a lot of people. Now, this next comment is really interesting to me. Basically, this person's saying that Apple often reuses the same design for 3 or more years, and that gets boring. Especially for them when they compare the new iPhone to the Samsung Galaxy S20. Samsung and Apple are always releasing their flagship phones like 5 or 6 months apart. For half the year, basically, one of them is gonna have the shiniest, newest features. But let's just be honest though, the camera on the S20 is amazing. But let's also remember that the actual design, the look, it's really nothing novel or new. I got a lot of comments that were really similar to this next comment, which says that Apple's magic touch just kind of seems to be missing. And part B of that comment is that Apple just seems to be just turning out products now, just like everybody else. Now, I'm thinking this through, and I'm trying to figure out in my head whether Apple is just turning out products like everyone else, maybe, or whether everyone else might be trying to turn out products just like Apple. Think about it. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple, he famously axed and got rid of several products. Lately though, it does seem kind of like Apple's been turning out not necessarily a lot of products, but it's the product variations. And the question in my mind is, will that splinter Apple's attention to detail? The next comment actually talks about how Apple seems to be listening to customers more lately, which is a good thing, so an improvement. Just look at the new MacBook Pro. Apple completely turned that around, and they listened to what people were saying was wrong and gave us the 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is not only a well-respected machine, but a well-liked machine as well. Also, look at the battery life in the latest batch of iPhones. We got a big bump in battery life. This next comment is a really interesting one because this person feels like Apple's just plain old running out of ideas when it comes to new products and new features. Now for this one, I'm just gonna have to respectfully disagree. And the reason is patents. If you look at patents that Apple has filed, and patents, we can just substitute the word ideas for patents. The patents are flowing. You can just look at a site like Patently Apple for proof. The ideas are there. I mean, how long was it between the first iMac and then the first iPhone and then the first iPad and then the first Apple Watch and the first pair of AirPods? You know, it wasn't like 5 years and boom, 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 you know? I mean, I'm with you. I want new stuff more often too, but I just feel like for big, truly innovative new things, there's always a matter of years in between. Of course, technology is always changing, and in that way, Apple is improving. But what if we, as a society or as Apple fans, are just getting numb to the technological advances? Cake, that's a good thing. Everyone likes cake. So if you had cake all on its own once a month, you'd say, wow, cake is really good. I want more cake. But if you had cake every day or even every meal, or maybe even for every course of every meal and then for every snack, then maybe cake wouldn't sound so good anymore, or you wouldn't think of it as some amazing food. With the new iPhone, oh, we're getting a better camera. And next year, better camera, better camera, better camera. It's still cake, it's still the iPhone, good camera, a little better. Yeah, I think there is something to this. In the next comment, actually I could have almost left out because it's basically saying the same thing. It's just saying that basically Apple's improving, but it's very iterative. The changes are coming, but they're small. What if Apple came out with a really crazy brand new product, like the Apple Car? Would that make you happy? Would you be excited? But what if it took another 6 years from today? Would you still be excited? I would. I'd be excited if it took another 10 years because it's an Apple Car. I mean, big things, they just take a while. Hey, good question, Chris. Well, thank you, Chris. Is your life as an Apple user getting better or worse? If you're a podcast subscriber to the Dailytekk After Party, my podcast, then your life as an Apple user is getting way better. If you're not already subscribed, check out the link down below. What if Apple this whole time has been so far ahead of the competition that everybody else is just now starting to catch up? I don't really know if that's true, but let's just say I think Apple knows that there are some things that it can do better than other companies. And when it tackles those kind of products, it does take other companies a lot of catching up. A good example of this would be AirDrop. Android phones are just now starting to get something like AirDrop. On the other hand, I think the same thing would surely be true in reverse. I mean, I would love for Apple to come out with an Xbox or PlayStation competitor, but if it's anything like the Pippin, then I don't actually want that, and I do then prefer Apple's approach, which was Apple Arcade, which was something they could do that nobody else could do. Now, this next comment actually kind of stopped me in my tracks, because it said that Apple is getting better in every way except for design. Wait, what? I will say I personally disagree with this, because when Apple designs something, I feel like it's often an instant classic. And what I mean by that is it doesn't necessarily need to be changed or tweaked all that often or right away. It's like, I already like the taste of my favorite coffee. It's my favorite for a reason. And if that coffee company started changing things, whether it was the packaging or the beans or the roast, if they just started changing stuff just for the sake of changing stuff, I might not like it as much. And actually, I think that's why so many phone makers just come out with new colors and paint schemes, because they want to make it look like the product has changed, like it's new, but fundamentally the internals aren't all that different. Now check out this comment. I really appreciate this comment. It says, basically this person came to Apple long after the Steve Jobs era, and they have no idea about the attraction that Steve Jobs generated for his products, but they feel like Apple stuff gets better every year. This is usually the opposite of what you hear, because so many people complain like, oh, ever since Steve Jobs was gone, then nothing's ever been the same. It's never been quite as good. That magic touch is just missing. But here, this is a view with no baggage. I love my AirPods, and so do many millions of other people. And you know what? I love the first generation, but I really love the improved version, the AirPods Pros. So things have been getting better in that respect. And so that's what this person's dialing into. So this next comment kind of breaks some new ground. It says that the performance of Apple's products is getting better, but not the upgradability. Well, just to play devil's advocate, what about the Mac Pro? Because that thing is all about upgradability. Now, I know that's not what you meant, but still, I had to mention it. You know, I see what you're saying, and everybody else is saying something very similar, but just from my perspective, I used to have the 2016 MacBook Pro, but I'm not sure that if I could have upgraded the internals, that I would have rather have done that versus just buying the new model that just came out like I did with all of its new features and the spec bump. I think you just look at Apple sales, and people are buying these machines without a lot of upgradability, you know? The next comment's actually really long, so I'll just paraphrase. Basically, this person's been an Apple user since the 80s, and they feel like they never used to have to bring their Apple products in to get serviced or fixed or looked at, but in recent years, they feel like they've had to do it a lot more. This is interesting, because this is basically the very reason that prompted me to ask you guys this question and have a debate about it in the first place. But what's even more interesting is that they had a good customer service experience, like I did as well. You can see that in my latest AirPods video where I talk about them being broken. And in some ways, you could get this picture that Apple could use good customer service for the small percentage of things that break to paper over or act as a Band-Aid for customers. Could Apple then rely on that so much that they wouldn't have to worry about having really great quality? That's not a line of thinking that I care to pursue. We're gonna end with this one last comment here that I think really is a good place to end. I'm just gonna read some of it. It says, in my opinion, it's never been a better time to live in the Apple ecosystem. That system, which has never been so rich in terms of combination of hardware and the range of apps and services. Very well said, Mr. Nick Smith. To answer the question of whether or not Apple's products are getting better or worse overall, I think just look at the stock price. That thing keeps rocketing upward. It looks like a big green mountain right now. The stock price would not be going crazy like it is if Apple wasn't providing lots of real value to customers. I mean, ultimately, people speak with their wallets, and right now, Apple's customers are saying loud and clear, yes, things are improving. They're saying it with their wallet. When something's bad, you don't buy it. If you had an iPhone 4 and it was great, and you got an iPhone 5 and you felt like it wasn't as good, if you were sensing a pattern as an Apple customer and you felt like things weren't getting better, then Apple's stock price would not be going up like it is right now. End of story. Let's keep the discussion going down in the comments. I would love to hear what you think about whether or not Apple's products are getting better or worse overall. Well, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you liked it. It's a little bit different. Not all the videos on the channel are gonna be like this, but from time to time, I really like having this discussion and interaction with you guys, kind of keep things a little bit deeper and not just focus on apps and tips and reviews and whatever. If you haven't already, be sure to check out Dailytekk, spelled Dailytekk, on Instagram and Twitter, and don't forget to check out our podcast, The Dailytekk After Party. All those links are down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.